Welcome back, everyone. My name is Meg Kruger. I've had the absolute pleasure of getting to know these gentlemen on my left here over the last several months. There are three of the members of our 2022, there's some guys in the back making me laugh, 2022 Pioneers in the Field class. We're so happy that you guys could join us for this panel discussion. We have, experience that, ranges over decades across the country, different territories, and definitely inspiring stories, elements that are inspiring from all of your stories. So thank you guys for joining us. And if we want to start here with John, just introduce yourself and shoot us with your title.
Thank you, Meg. I'm John CLINTSMAN, head of grounds at Innsworth School in Nashville.
My name is Wayne Ward. I'm a turf and grounds manager at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa.
My name is Mike HEBRARD with Athletic Field Design in Portland, Oregon.
Wonderful. And I think I'm going to start it off with each of you give me 3 words that describe your career or your sports turf journey.
Want me to start it?
Sure, because John's like, I'm not starting.
I never let off before.
You
this
take
is
it, Mike.
for me. So you went 3 sports words.
Any words.
Any words?
Any words that just kind of encapsulate, what your career has been.
Well, I just kind of started by accident in a way. It's basically created a monster. There's a lot of need for the youth fields out there, and I had a couple pro shots. I started in AA baseball, not knowing anything, but I was a bullpen catcher and head groundskeeper. So when the pitcher got lit up the night before, I'm in with him the next day on the mound, bullpen, and you kind of learn from that. So I just kind of, I can do this, I can do that, and everything I did, I've never done before. So can you do this? Yeah, I could try it. So all my stuff I learned on everybody else's expenses.
So learning on the fly is what really encapsulates. Yeah. And that's definitely something that stood out in your story was, you've really had your business kind of take shape to whatever the industry needed at different times. And, if it was striping that they needed or field renovation or consulting, that's kind of what you were there for.
It's morphed a lot. I've just changed with the flow. I had a little line cutting machine, and I used to cut all the lines, and then I had knee surgery, and the pedal I use I can't do anymore, so I've done into more and more painting. And it seems like painting was such a small part of the beginning, and it's weird because the guys I paint for think that's all I do. And then I laser grade, they think, oh, that's all I do. Or I renovate, that's all I do.
Yep. Well, there's plenty of misconceptions about the industry as a whole and what you guys are able to accomplish. And Wade, I know that that was a lot more than 3 words, but it definitely gave you plenty of time.
Don't ask me time until I have to go to watch.
To come up with your 3 words. And then I'll hit you with another question as far as, talking about that evolution and adapting to change. What you started with and where you are today and the kind of evolution that the industry has taken.
All right. So I think if you had to pick 3 words to describe my career, it would be long, dirty, and fulfilling. So long, hard,
I love
and
that.
dirty. Yeah. And as far as change, I mean, the industry's come from so many different places from when I started. We used to put the fields together with slab pieces of grass, and now we use big rolled sod, and we used to use forks to pull it together, and now we use machines to push it. I own a couple robots that paint machines, you know what I mean? The tiny tank robot that we use that all the time, turf tank.
Yep.
So that's one of the things that we use all the time. Robots are huge in this industry where we're at, and quick cure paints, aerosol paints. I didn't know they had aerosol paints for grass, and now all of a sudden I've painted a whole bowl field with nothing but aerosol. So there's a job at hand, and you have to figure out a way to do it, and that's where all these people in the SDMA and all the different entities that are involved in it have come up with ideas to push this forward.
Definitely. And John, I know now you've definitely had enough time to think of 3 words.
I'm thinking about it still.
But the other question I want to follow up with you is, talking about adapting and having to evolve, something that stood out with your Pioneers in the Field story was the flood that you guys endured, right on the tail end of winning Tennessee Field of the Year, and then your whole stadium's underwater. Talk kind of about how you had to motivate the crew to kind of adapt to the situation at hand there.
So 3 words for me would be leadership, change and enjoyment, because I love my job. I love getting to know different characters in the industry. Two leaders in my career standing right over here. But as far as the flood goes, keeping the guys motivated, getting them, keeping them encouraged was more than anything. I don't know if it was anything I did through that other than just encourage them that there was light at the end of the tunnel, like we heard in our keynote address today. There's always light, no matter what you're going through in the industry or whatever, there's always an end to it at some point.
Yep. And leadership and mentorship, I feel like kind of go hand in hand. And Wayne, I know that was such a huge component of your story where, those mentors that really invested in you from the beginning. And as a leader in the industry now, what are some of the advice that you can give to people who are in the position to be mentors now and have the chance to make that impact?
Just take that opportunity every chance you get to speak to the young guys, to let them know your story, let them know that you can keep on doing what you're doing and you can do that. But I think a lot of it is giving back. Those gentlemen, Mr. Toma, Don Follett, Ed Mangan, they spent a lot of time with me and gave me their knowledge, and I feel obligated to share that knowledge with the group as well.
Yep.
That's what I've picked up along the way besides what they know.
Of course, really, bringing up that next generation. And Mike, that leads perfectly into, a huge testament to your careers that your son, has kind of taken what your career is, looked at the textbook example of it and made a career of his own in the sports turf arena. So how important has mentorship been in your career as far as making sure that you're passing it on for the next generation?
I had none. I started going to the STMA to learn more. I really didn't have many people in Oregon that knew what I was doing. And I experimented, learned from them, and then being at this show and going to as many events I can and getting more involved and finding out their problems and finding, kind of innovating ways to make things better.
So, you mentioned, these STMA, SFMA conferences being, something so pivotal in a sports turf manager's career, and the community that's here, you can feel it, you can sense it. How has community really played a role, whether it's on the sports turf industry side or working within your own community? How does that really impact your day to day? John, I know you're looking to the left, but I'm going to
I thought
you
you were
for that
asking
one.
him. Sorry. There's been a few times, several times, I guess, that we've gone out in the community and painted a field for a special game for some, another school, going to local high schools and helping them with a issue, and we're fortunate enough to be able to do that at our high school, from our position. But for us, it's very important to give back.
Definitely. And Wayne, same question to you. How has community really impacted, your career and the role it plays?
In so many different ways. Especially being where I'm at, I do have people reaching out to me all the time, high schools, locally, spring training sites, So, again, I enjoy that. I welcome that. I've done a lot of few things there with painting logos for the Lightning in town and breast cancer awareness and do stuff like that around the city, and people know of us and they reach out to us for that.
And just that visibility for sports field managers as a whole is so important because, like you guys mentioned, like the misconceptions, they're endless when it comes to what really goes on behind the scenes. So that plays a huge role. And I'm going to invite another one of our 2022 Pioneers in the Field to join us. She's got a busy schedule, so we're happy that she's able to get in with us. You want me in this seat over here, or this one? Okay, perfect.
Sorry.
No worries at all. Thank you so much for coming.
Fight the week.
You and I get to share a mic.
Okay, let's do it.
Do you know all the gentlemen here?
I think I haven't met you yet.
No, I don't think so. Wayne Ward.
John,
Wayne
you
Ward.
talk on the phone.
Okay.
Yes.
Wayne Ward.
Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you.
I know Mike.
Good.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll hit you with one right out of the gate. So we were just talking about community, and you have a unique position at your facility where you're not just, it's not just servicing one school or, one community, it's an entire district of sorts. So talk a little bit about how community plays a role in that gig.
Well, Friday night football, right? I mean, it's community center. But yeah, we're the home field for 6 high schools. So we have 6 different communities. We often have 2 communities in the same night. Lots of hometown rivalries. We had one of our announcers called it the hometown showdown, one of our rivalry games this year. And it really brings out the big crowds, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, all kinds of different communities with 6 high schools, and we just have fun with it. Try to make it there. So.
Yeah. And that's really at the end of the day. I loved what they were saying in the opening session yesterday, that where the game begins, is that the new tagline? And at the end of the day, that's what we all love being a part of this industry, is whether you had a career in sports before, in the sense of like little league or high school, that this is your way to stay in the game. And I think it's a tagline that could really help inspire, recruitment efforts, inspiring the next generation. What are some of the reasons that you guys, it's like a no-brainer for you, for people to get involved in this industry? Is there something that it's just like, well, yeah, why wouldn't you want to be involved in this?
For me, I think you get to stay in the game. Mm-hmm. My crew is very young, and they're all fresh out of playing at some level, so they get to stay in the game.
Yep.
And make a difference for the players. So I think that's a no-brainer.
Yep. And Wayne, for you, is there any like no-brainer reason why somebody should consider this as a career option?
The one thing about our job is, as trying as it is, and the long hours and where it's at, you always feel accomplished when you leave that day. Even if your job's not done, you did something that day, and there's always some kind of sense of accomplishment, especially when you're finished with a certain project. To sit back and see the finished product is worth it right there.
That instant gratification,
yes,
for sure. Mike, do you have anything to add to that one?
I just always try to leave it better than it was.
Yep.
And sometimes they're pretty bad.
I think we just touched on it, community, right? Like, this is a community. There was an email that went out last week that talked about this being the industry family reunion, and I'm not sure it could be described much better than that. So, yeah, the community of this industry is incredible, and the connections you make in this industry have just been life-changing for me, absolutely.
So one of the, life-changing events that you and I touched on in your story was the U.S. Women's Open and the Trailblazers and Turfgrass. Talk a little bit about, why events like that really matter for the visibility of a sports field manager.
Oh boy, it's a big one. Yes, it was a life-changing experience, definitely, to break the grass ceiling, as my friend Kelly Lynch says. But I think anytime we can put ourselves out there, it's going to open up some visibility. Now, that's a very large event with a lot of big media behind it, and we got a lot of traction with media. Somebody just wrote another article or posted another article about it recently, and it happened, 7 months ago. So definitely lots of big media behind those kinds of events. But I think anytime you can get out and do anything outside of your norm, it's going to increase visibility.
Definitely. And Wayne, being an NFL head groundskeeper, the visibility is, on display every other week on, Sunday. How does that really play into, what you do every day, as far as the gratification, if it's, seeing it on the big screen, or if it's just, visibility for what you guys are able to accomplish?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
There, we're definitely the visibility is there, so it increases the pressure, but the reward is bigger for me because everyone gets to see it. You know what I mean? These guys work just as hard as I do and do exactly the same thing, go through the same emotions and drive that I do. I fortunately just get to show that to the world on Sundays as it goes. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different, but I also, when I don't meet expectations, which is very rare, if I don't meet expectations, that's very visible as well.
Yep.
So I feel that pressure even more because I know there's no room for error.
Definitely. And Mike, that on the opposite end of that, you talk about your clients, the town that you sometimes work in, as the corn dog circuit. Yeah. And it just being people that, this may be their first exposure to any best practices, or, the idea of like safety and playability is not something that may have crossed their mind before. So why is it important for you when you go in there to, educate them on kind of what sports field management is?
Well, I'm amazed on the quality of the paint machines they have, and their approach to it and their accuracy, and they have no guidance. And I've had that a couple times where they hit my website, and they didn't realize somebody existed in the Portland area, and then they're just real excited. And I always get a couple new ones all the time, and then I lose some guys because they think they're doing it better. And then another guy said, "Why are we doing it? Am I going to get Mike in?" So
Yep.
it's kind of been very rewarding on trying to help people to pass it on. Because
Yep.
I just didn't have the leadership. I had to go to these events to find it.
Yep. And we're going to give a shout out to your friend, Michael Brownlee. Did I say that right? Because he's someone, on the vendor side that kind of helped you and empowered you to learn these different practices. And why is that so important, in this industry, that wealth of knowledge and sharing it?
For me, at the time that Michael came around, it was I'd kind of hit a point to where we were good at what we were doing, but we weren't taking the ownership in it. And one of the things he talked to me about, or not even so much to me, just talked about around me, was just taking the ownership. So at the time, we had a company come in and spray for us, and I was able to talk our school into allowing me to buy a spray rig. We had a company fix most of our irrigation, and we started, I started working with the guys to learn how to fix it, so, and that's just, two small examples, but that was all Michael coming in and just talking about the ownership he had at the golf course when he was in the golf course industry.
Yep.
And then how much better we could get if we were controlling it ourselves, so I'm not having to call someone at the drop of a hat to come spray. I'm able to go spray.
Yep.
So then it was, learning how to spray. Like I understood the math of it, and I understood what was involved, but I had never put it to practical use. And having him right by my side the first time I did it, and it wasn't, let me show you, it was, okay, jump on and do it, and you learn. That's the only way to learn,
Yeah.
So sometimes the guys will get mad at me because that's how I teach them. I'll let them screw up. That's fine. But let them take the ownership in that screw up at the same time.
Yep. And I think with all four of you guys, in your stories, like each of you started off on maybe you fell into sports turf. It wasn't like this dream you had as an 8-year-old. And it's an industry that allows for that really welcomes people to, feel empowered, learn the tips and tricks, and make a career for themselves. And, I think that's so important. And how do you think that could help recruit future people? Son, I'll let you try and answer my babble there.
Well, yeah, I didn't even know it was a thing. I didn't know it was a job when I was growing up. I grew up playing softball every weekend all over the place, played softball through college, and it never occurred to me that there was somebody whose job it was to maintain that facility. I knew if the grass looked good, I knew if I wanted to dive for a ball in the outfield or not, but it never really occurred to me that it was a thing. So I think, the more visibility, the more we can get out there and talk to people. If somebody's playing on your field, they're there for the first time, ask them, hey, what do you think? How's that pitcher's mound doing? What do you think about those goal mouths? So just talking to people and making those connections.
And that's a great point. A lot that we've been talking about, like data points almost, and using that user feedback as like a data point to help kind of secure yourself a seat at the table or justify your bottom line. Do any of you have any experience in that where you've, taken feedback from your user groups and kind of helped it justify, what you're doing out there on the field?
I'll jump in real quick, but I talk to the baseball team constantly, football as well. But for baseball, it's, our season goes from February to middle of May for baseball. So we go from a very wet start of the season to a very dry end of the season. So it's talking to them about what they want. How do you want the field? I want to know what the second baseman wants to play on, or whatever. So getting their feedback, talking to the coaches about why
That might have been me, sorry.
I mow the field at the height I do, and if they want it a little different, or they want it more firm, less firm. We can control all those little things to a certain extent. and just knowing what they want so that, and it more than anything, it's building that relationship. You know, I might not actually be able to do what they're asking for, but it's building that relationship. It's getting face to face and making sure they know who I am.
Definitely. And Wayne, a question for you. Something that really resonated with me when we were talking was, you know, you have these $1 million athletes playing on your field. And something you said is like, I decided at one point that I was going to take my job as seriously as these athletes playing on my field were expected to take their job. And describe, you know, how that kind of like changed the conversation of, you know, your role and the role as a groundskeeper for you.
Well, like John said, that move came from me. I decided, you know what I mean, I was going to put the same effort that they put into it, and I wanted to do those things. So that's, you get into it, reach out to them, see what it is, see how you can get better, and that's, you know, goes from the bottom to the top. Even the equipment guys, and you know, that kind of carries over to your peers, your fellow workers, you know, everybody around the league. I'm fortunate to be able to be around 32 of the top field managers in the country, and I can call them and kick things around with them. And then you come to events like this where we've got lots of people here, and you could talk through anything, and you could talk through it with 5 different people and then make a decision based on information that you've gathered through here.
Yep. And people really are, you know, the heart of any industry, but this one in particular. And Mike, in your story, something that, you know, I really loved was that you're traveling to a different place almost every day. You said, I start in one direction and I could get a call that takes me in the next. So you don't necessarily have a home field, but it seemed like the people in this industry are really where you feel at home. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times beginning of the week, I don't know where I'm going to be. And I kind of prioritize it and stuff, and nothing against the Little League team, but if Oregon State calls me or something like that, they're going to get bumped a little bit, you know, and they all understand that. I'm open about it. And just kind of, like I say, I literally be going one way and turn around, and a lot of these little schools are, I don't know, an hour or two away from driving and stuff, and I got weather to deal with, and I don't know, I go sight unseen, or the gate might be locked, or they don't have any paint, or it hasn't been mowed.
The challenges are limitless.
Yes.
Well, son, one question I wanted to ask you, because you know you play an integral role in the SFMA and everything that goes on here. So, what's something that you know you've seen here this week that really has you hopeful for, you know, what's to come this year and what's to come for the whole industry?
Oh, where do I start with that? Yeah. I think initially the rebrand, the excitement around what we're hoping to do as an association moving forward in the future. I think that's very exciting. You're right. The options are limited or unlimited for sure. But seeing young people, you know, I did not get a chance to go up to see the beginning of the Student Challenge, but I know there's so many young kids up there that are working their hearts out right now. And to see all those students out here is also a really bright spot for our industry future, I think.
Definitely. And John, one thing that you said in your story was, at the end of the day, you just want to be remembered as great. Touch a little bit on that, because it brought tears to my eyes. We don't need to get emotional here, but...
It sounds arrogant though, right?
No, I loved it.
So that also came back to a conversation with Brownlee, and it was, you know, I want to be as good as this guy. You know, like for me, they're at the top. You know, my first STMA, I looked up to both of these. You know, it was only 7 years ago or whatever, and I met Sun. We were in a K through 12 discussion. She has no clue about that, but the people at that level, the people at Sun's level, still to this day, I want to get to that point, you know. And so Brownlee and I were talking, and I just told him one day, I said, you know, we were talking goals, and I said, I want to be great. I want to be remembered, whether it be in this industry, you know, when we're at awards night and you're seeing people. I think it was her name. I'm drawing a blank with her name. You just interviewed her before
Abby
us,
McNeil.
Abby,
Yep.
and she was just an absolute mess of tears. But it's because of the hard work she's put in.
Yep.
You know, and you're sitting there watching someone like that. So for me, I want to be in the industry. I want to be great. I want to be a great friend, a great leader to my guys, you know, that are here with us. a great mentor to whoever I can, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what we're going to be how we're going to be remembered.
Definitely. And Wayne, that leads right into my next question for you is just, hearing something like that there are people in the industry that aspire to, be Wayne Ward in a sense. What does that really mean to you? And, what do you hope your legacy in this industry will be?
Thank you very much, by the way. It means a lot to me. That means that I've done what I was planned out to do, taking this thing to the next level. Getting it. This STMA is one of it. I mean, you can attest. I mean, it's grown leaps and bounds. I can't believe how big it is now. So glad it was back this year. It was a miss. It is a reunion. You don't see people for a year and you catch right up like you haven't missed them in forever. But I'm super glad of the accomplishments, the things that we've done, the things that I've done that people haven't done. And I hope to be that for the people in the future here where it's at. So
definitely.
You've done a good job so far.
And Mike, you're definitely a household name as well here.
I'm trying to know who's starting that rumor.
Everyone seems to know you in some sense. So, same question for you. What do you hope that your legacy is in this industry?
He's already doing it. That's my son, Andy. And he's taken my stuff at a much higher level. And, according to the quote I had in my thing, and Andy's thought is my idea of daycare right around his pickup all summer. But he's started off the softball Little League World Series at 5 years old, raking the coaches' boxes and wiping the bases off. And he got to the point where I could leave and not worry about anything getting done. And I don't know I could work at his level of accuracy. It's amazing how...
Well, you can take credit for it. We'll let you have that, at least.
So that's about the best thing you can do is have your offspring, one, getting in your industry.
Yep.
That's one thing. And then take it at a higher level that I never imagined.
Definitely a testament to what you've been able to create. And I hope that all of you in some way found your stories to be, a reflection in some way on what you've been able to create here in this industry. And we appreciate you guys all doing this. I appreciate you all, letting me haggle you over the phone for the last several months. So any closing thoughts or any final things that we want to get out there before we close it out?
I want to say thank you very much for capturing the stories the way you did. They were very well. I didn't cry like she said. It just sounded good in paper. But anyway, thank you very much. You did a wonderful job of it. And Pioneer has been a huge part of what I do and has been since the beginning. So that's cool too.
Awesome. Thank you.
I can echo that. It's been the great support I've been getting from Pioneer and their sales staff and knowledge is really gets me excited to keep going and keep trying it better.
We have a ton of vendors here to get excited about. We've got an awesome show to get into. And again, I appreciate you guys all joining us and all the time that went into these. So,
Meg, I got to say, you telling the stories, like Wayne said, telling stories is what's going to get us visible as an industry, right? So thank you so much for your hard work and to Pioneer for putting this all together. Awesome job. Thank you.
Thank you.